You should all have access to share if you have slides. So yeah. Okay, I see them, digital humanities at a crossroads. Is that everyone sees the slides?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Great. Well, welcome everyone to our presentation today. Glad that you can all be here. We're presenting today on digital humanities as a crossroad, or specifically our work as a Center for Digital Scholarship within the libraries, how we handle the emergence of AI as a tool, as a pedagogy, as a practice. And I have with me Ashley Champagne, who's our CDS director, and Patrick Rushley, who's our head of technologies. So I will start today, and Ashley, if you don't mind pressing the slide. So for about a decade and a half, DH instructional practices have come from a variety of sources. That camp, hackathons, carpentries, these workshops and events are very much skill specific, task specific. It is giving DH instructions in a highly impromptu and collaborative manner. But at the same time, within the field of DH, you also have a lot of DH new disciplines emerging within the field of DH, like critical DH, Black DH, Indigenous DH, that are bringing with it new theoretical approaches like digital reparations, data feminism, restorative data. And what we see happening is that increasingly this mix between highly skill-based, task-specific instructions with more theoretical approaches being given in new spaces. And I'm talking specifically about libraries becoming sort of the hub for digital scholarship. And especially for institutions who lack designated spaces to do DH work, academic libraries, public libraries are providing that space for instruction and collaboration. And as you get open access platforms and tools that are emerging from DH centers and labs, you also see increasingly these instructions are being given by library staff. So we are tasked with doing anything from methods, text analysis, GIS, to platforms, Omeka, Scalar, Zotero, GitHub, to programming like Python and R. And we do that through a variety of means, from projects, workshops, classrooms, instructions, one-on-one consultations. So that's what we see happening within the field of DH, and specifically with how the instructions are given. So I'll pass it on to Ashley now to talk about specifically about what our DH Center is doing at Brown.
Thank you, Con. It's great to be here with you all. So just to frame our conversation a little bit, our Center for Digital Scholarship at Brown, which is housed in the library, we are really charged as the central hub across the campus that is working with all kinds of researchers from all levels and all disciplines. And as we say in our mission statement here, we're providing inspiration, expertise, services, and teaching in digital scholarship methodologies and more to our community. And this is our team, just to give you a little sense of it. We have 3 here today, but we have a variety of other people, and we also work with people in the library that are not in our center, but such as the metadata specialist, who isn't directly in our center, but we work with her a lot. So just to give you an example of some of the work that we often do, just as Con was saying, some of those methods that we're charged with teaching are text analysis, very common in digital humanities, data visualization, mapping, timelines, and much more. But those are a few of them. And, here on the right is a picture of our Stolen Relations project. That's one of our projects. We have a large project portfolio as well, where we're utilizing these different digital humanities methodologies to help bring to life in collaboration with faculty their idea for a digital humanities project. Stolen Relations will launch very soon, so. But then when we think about critical digital humanities, also as Con was framing at the opening, we're not just thinking about how do we get students, researchers of all levels to perform text analysis. We're also very much integrating a critical lens in every skill-based workshop we're teaching. So, questions like what text do we have access to, and what do we not? What's the missing data? For data visualization, how does data visualization make visible what we have access to in our data set and what we don't? So we're always asking these critical questions. So when it came to, November of 2022, when ChatGPT became much more widely, openly widespread, this wasn't new to us in a way that we're always looking for new technologies and how they're impacting research. And so we really started to play with it right away and try to see how we could integrate it into our workflows and our projects and things like that. So the point of this presentation, the goal here is to share with you what we've been doing. And we're so excited to hear, any feedback. So for instruction, what we started doing is we realized quickly that we could produce code we never could before. So here in our Digital Humanities Summer Institute, which we run every summer, we experimented with sentiment analysis, which it did a really good job at. And we tried that with a variety of different generative AI tools. And we compared them and did a lot of critical analysis on the output. In addition, this is one workflow. We have a web scraping toolkit at our Brown University Library, and one of them is collecting workflows for how to gather data sets. So the Guardian is one of those workflows. You'll see here on the left, this was my previous workflow, which included a variety of tools that were not with AI. And then I realized in trying it again, I could do it so much easier, and the students could do it so much easier with generative AI. So rewriting some workflows and trying to see how to make things a little bit easier and streamline the process. And I'm going to pass to Patrick for the next slide.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, I'm just going to mention here that on the technology side, we I think did what everybody did when ChatGPT first arrived, is we're just trying to make sense of this thing. And for, I would say, about a year, we were just trying things out and seeing, first of all, where the edges were, when did it break, when did it succeed, and just mucking about in a way that with an eye to methodology and updating methodologies that we would be doing without prior to the emergence of chatbots and LLMs. So we did some experiments with extracting data from projects that would have been done by hand. We have an ongoing project that's about to be completed, which was on digital preservation of digital literary works, and that was something that was conceived of prior to sort of this, the ChatGPT emergence, and we ended up incorporating the use of large language models into that ongoing project, which was basically experimenting with different models that would take electronic literature works and how to preserve it for the long term, even if the things like the operating systems or platforms such as Flash had disappeared. And one of the works was an earlier AI generated corpus of poetry, which was now, because of passing technologies, we're unable to run because the libraries had expired, and so we were able to our colleague Cody Carvel was able to train a large language model on the corpus that was itself generated by this older large language model and create a simulation using current large language model technologies. So this was an early experiment that turned into an actual result and product that we'll be rolling out and publicizing very soon. But this is sort of like, so this was spent during the year of sort of experimentation, this kind of work.
Another thing we've done is we've convened a variety of different events around AI at Brown. So one is we're part of the critical AI learning community at Brown, which is a very big community of like about 200 people across the campus that come together to talk and hear about work in AI across the campus. And we also host the Digital Humanities Salon, which is above, and that brings together researchers on a variety of topics outside of AI, but also on AI as well. And those have been really productive to be able to share our work and hear more. But we have done relatively little at this point about sharing out beyond Brown. So right now, what we're really thinking at this point is that digital humanities practice is a bit at a crossroads here, because in the past there was lots of training to learn Python or R or different skills to do a direct action, and now you can use programming languages generated by generative AI quite easily if you know a little bit how to do it and some reading knowledge of the languages. And so you can get up to speed a lot faster. But what we're realizing is that we might want to ask a few questions about what we've been doing at our center. So a few questions we thought of is, how do we, really think intentionally about how we teach computer programming and digital humanities? I am really interested to hear what other centers are doing, what other libraries are doing in this space. We can certainly, I think there is a lack of structure, as Professor Lowe said this morning, leading to the self-directed learning that was very much resonated here. How do we now teach the many methodologies in digital humanities that are dramatically aided by AI? And then, what are the core competencies that we need to be teaching alongside it, if any? Others have argued that perhaps it's more about what your end goal is, but we want to think really intentionally about how we're actually teaching now with generative AI as well.
And we realize as well as a group, as a center, we need to get our experience with these technologies up to speed as well and see how it can be applied in practical terms if we're going to be teaching this. And so one of the things we committed to for the next foreseeable future is a series of applications of AI in, next slide, Ashley, please, thank you. Just trying out with a small team from across the library, again, small projects that focus on application over theory, very focused, highly experimental. We're allowing ourselves the luxury of failure if it doesn't work out, and interesting failures are even more informative perhaps than successes, and just allowing people to engage as heavily or as lightly as they like, because we're all busy and we don't have a ton of time to dedicate to this. So how do we make this in this sort of that professional development, that hands-on experience be sustainable within our already heavy schedules, and then also sharing out to the broader library and beyond community the results of these experiments. And so here's the examples of, I think the first one, the one I mentioned, was we were considering our first in this series. This semester we're looking at using large language models to extract from ancient inscriptions. We're partnering with a faculty, an adventurous faculty member, sorry. And then next semester, who knows? We'll put something else on the plate. But the idea is to make this a repeatable process that allows us to sort of like continually experiment and continually build up our repertoire of experience. And also, we're partnering with other groups on campus. in one interesting example is that these centers, the Brown Center for Technical Responsibility and the Computer Science Department, are putting together a handbook about on providing a set of primers for computer science TAs and students and faculty, and we're contributing our sort of like humanities experience to that handbook, which includes sort of like again a humanistic library perspective on engaging with AI in an ethical way. So all told, these sort of like bringing these initiatives together, looking to the future, we're trying to cover as many sort of like bases in without spreading ourselves too thin. So our continuing workshops and our projects are engaging with AI applications, like what does it mean to actually incorporate AI into your everyday practices and methodologies. And then the critical AI learning community, which is coming out of the library, is providing a sort of a discussion, a place for the community to come together and convene and you know, share ideas and concerns. And then these other initiatives are opportunities for us to talk more at a more critical, higher level, moving away from the application level into sort of like the higher critical thinking around these technologies. And I think that Ashley, you want to take us out?
That's it. Yeah. So we're really eager to hear any questions you have. I see there's actually already one in the chat too. So I could just read that one. Christopher asks, have you had any issues with faculty wanting to pull data from licensed resources? Yes, we have. Not particular, I don't know to AI, but we certainly have. So with like with the web scraping toolkit that I mentioned, there's been a lot of effort to be like, oh, well, I can then, you know, create a way to web scrape behind a login or something, which you actually can't do legally. So we have had that. So we have very clear guidance on how to use the toolkit as well. I'm not sure if I quite answered that. And thank you to Elizabeth for the admiration of the Center for Digital Scholarship Bear. We love it too. And yeah, I'm not sure if there's, yeah.
I'll also touch on the question of data specifically when it comes to faculty project as well, because I think we have what's happening is also on the opposite end of the spectrum, where a lot of faculty projects are generating original data as well, coming out of these projects. So one of the things because we're using AI to help code some projects. So one of the things or our consideration is how do we safeguard that data, prevent it from being scraped and then being used to train AI models as well. So it's two pieces of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Christopher says we're developing a policy around licensing in AI and large language models. That's great. I mean, I'd love to see it.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.